Welcome to this short video on Db2 Mirror. Today I'm going to be demonstrating some basic features with Db2 Mirror. We've already established Db2 Mirror node pair. We've gone through configuration and cloning. We can see we're in active replication. I'm looking at the Db2 Mirror Gui. Everything looks good. We can talk from either of the node pairs and synchronous replication. Let me add in a new library with objects into the database. I'm on the primary node, sync18, and I'm using the Db2 sample database procedure to create a new cooking business library with objects within. We haven't seen whether I'm using the include default state of include or exclude. I happen to know it's exclude on this particular node pair, and I'm expecting it to create all these objects in a library and not replicate them. Let's see if that's true. From the primary side, I've created the objects. If I go over to the secondary, query Db2 Mirror Info, and I'll see secondary node is resync18. It happens to be this one. And I try to query the database table. It's not found. It hasn't been replicated yet. How do we overcome this in Db2 Mirror? One way it is to utilize the GUI, the RCL services, and in graphical interfaces. Secondary way is using SQL. Today's example, I'll use SQL. I'll use add replication criteria procedure to include a sys-base library cooking biz1. I haven't specified the objects and object types where within, and Db2 Mirror will then select all replication eligible objects and replicate them over in this one operation. The reason why it's taking more than 1 or 2 seconds is all the objects there within are now replicated. We didn't have to do anything in the GUI, but we can refresh it and see all is still good and green. If I go over to the secondary node again, repeat my query, I see I'm back to synchronous replication, and my new library and objects within are in sync. Let's simulate an unplanned outage. I'll suspend Db2 Mirror. I could do this from the primary or secondary node. I happen to do it from the primary. Db2 Mirror thinks for a second, checks everything, and we get to this node state of tracking and blocked. Db2 Mirror is going through some state changes here. We changed from suspending to suspended. Tracking. All operations will continue to work on the primary and will track in the object tracking list, the OTL, any such changes. The secondary can read replicated data, but it can't change data or any other replication objects. So we repeat our query. We can still get at the data. The data could end up being stale if it's being changed in the primary. I try to make a change. Db2 Mirror stops us, says, hey, you're the secondary, you're not allowed to do that. But if I go over to my primary node and I can say I'm going to grant a salary increase to employees within a certain department, 10% raise increase. Let's see, now I've changed. Maybe I'll go through and say, okay, we've added in whatever PTFs or some other service that we wanted to do on the secondary node. Let's resume Db2 Mirror. We don't have to negotiate this with the applications and users. Behind the scenes, Db2 Mirror will discover the changes that have been made during the outage and do something called resynchronize those changes across. We see that illustrated in the Db2 Mirror GUI. If I refresh, resuming and synchronizing appears. The GUI can allow me to drill into the object tracking list details and see the state of the changes being made, which objects are the focus point of this resynchronization, and what is the status of the replication. For database files, you only see one row in here for each file. It's known as the database IO row. We're tracking at the record level within the database tables themselves. For all other object changes, you should see one row for each of those object changes. And this has gone away, so that usually means we're done synchronizing, and we get back to the main screen. We see, sure enough, we're back. Not only is our planned outage complete, but the resynchronization to bring us back in sync is also complete. If I go back to the run SQL scripts interface on the secondary, repeat the query, we can see now not only do we have the data, but the data is in sync.